The U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Stephanie Sullivan, has welcomed the attention Ghanaian organizations have brought to the problem of militias. During an interaction with some media persons in Tamale, she said it is not in their place as foreigners to say Ghana has a problem with militias. But if we have identified it, they are open to proposals seeking their assistance.
I welcome the attention that Ghanaian organizations have brought to this problem. Again, it's not for foreigners to say, hey, you guys have a problem. It's really for us to say, okay, you all have identified a problem. How can we help you? How can we support you? How can we be a good friend and neighbor to help with this? So I think we're open to receiving ideas and proposals where people might ask us for some specific assistance. I think it's very good to have high-level political commitment on all sides to tackle the problem and to tackle it in a very impartial, free and fair and responsible way, and not point fingers and just say, well, we don't have a problem, but you have a problem. No, no, you have a problem, we don't have a problem. Because then we all have a problem.
Charting the way forward to end party militias is on. Yesterday, I engaged the Executive Director of the Institute for Democratic Governance, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, on the modalities stakeholders should employ in getting the bilateral talks underway. Well, today I'm engaging the National Organiser of the governing New Patriotic Party, Samuel Wuku, here with me in the studio. He's been touring and meeting party supporters on the need to disband all such groups within his party. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Good to
Quite
see you.
some work. Good to see you too. Quite some work you've embarked on. Which areas have you been to?
Well, we've been to the 52 constituencies up north. I mean, that's the 5 regions up north: the Upper West, the Upper East, the Northeast, the Northern region, and the Savannah. And throughout this tour, myself, together with the National Youth Leader of the party, the National Nasara Coordinator, and the National Women's Organiser. And we've been actively engaging the base of our party, our constituency executives across all the ranks and all the levels. We've also taken the pains to also engage one-on-one the various groups within our fold. We do not consider them militias, but their activities, some of the activities that they engage in, often in turn giving the party a bad name. Again, we've also asked them that as part of the President's directive, we want to ensure that all erring groups are reined in and that nobody engages in acts of thuggery, hooliganism, or vandalism. Be as it may, for us as leadership of the party, we've also asked that going forward, everybody must belong to a constituency and must belong to a polling station. The difficulty with some of these groups is that you can only disband something you formed. Because if you are not the originator or the one who formed it, disbanding it is not as easy as it's being portrayed. But what you can do is once...
Is that a way of dissociating yourselves?
Oh, no, not entirely. For instance, you cannot say that the NDC as a political party using its constitution formed the Azoka. Neither can you say the NPP as a political party using its constitution and structures from the Invisible or Delta or the Hawks of the NDC. But these groups have worked for the parties, and so they have some linkage with the party. But then for you to have the party's constitution, rules and regulations applying to these members, they must first be integrated into your party, so that then the party can say that based on Article 4, if you've gone against the rules of our party, brought the name of the party into disrepute, these are the sanctions thereof that must be applied.
Would it be fair to say that maybe if you just stopped engaging these people, they wouldn't have anything to do?
No, but I think so far, let me be very honest with you, thanks to my national chairman and the leadership of the party, they mandated us to go around, and we've had tremendous success.
What has been the feedback from the people?
It's been wonderful.
What do they tell you?
Martina, your correspondent,
she did a report
in Tamale will tell you as well. We engaged these Kandahar boys, these Invisible boys, the Rock in the Upper East, and the rest of the groups across the 5 regions of the North. We went to where they are. We engaged them. Some do not engage in nefarious activities. Some do not engage in acts of thuggery. But it's become a big headache for us as party leaders, because one bad nut can spoil the soup. So while we're also asking them to also pipe down, not engage in these, and also to resist the temptation of provocation from the other side. It cannot be a one-sided approach.
I appreciate that, but I was asking what their feedback has been.
The feedback has been good. The
what do they tell you? What are their concerns?
Well, they also, sometimes is this an eye for an eye is what results in some of these things. For instance, some of our people were victims of the cherry pony violence. Some were victims of the Atiwa, Kwetia, Talenzi and all. So they feel that once their political party also wins, this also should be business as usual. We are determined to pull the brakes and ensure that there's sanity in our political system. For us, the two major political parties, you can also, it's not as easy as the media will also say, completely disown them. Politics is about numbers. So how do we channel their energies or rechannel their energies to productive use for them to play a serious and constructive role in the building of our nation and building of our political parties?
Mr. Wuku, the directive by the president given exactly 3 weeks ago today when he delivered the
You've been doing a countdown.
Exactly, when he delivered the State of the Nation address. 21 days it is. Some have hailed his move. In fact, not some. I think everybody says this is a good move by our president. But the two parties settling on a meeting has been quite a bumpy one, a bumpy ride. What is causing the delay?
Well, first of all, the NPP adopted a position that, okay, we welcome the call of the president. In fact, he had spoken to us before even the call was made officially on the floor of Parliament. Our national chairman at that time was away together with the general secretary and some of our party leaders. What we decided on was the national chairman should first engage his colleague on the other side. That's the chairman of Oswampofo. The two of them have been friends. They are friends. They've been in Parliament before as colleagues. So what they decided on was, okay, what we decided on was the two chairmen should meet, break the ice, draw the modalities before they rein as the rest of the executives in.
Has that meeting happened?
It hasn't happened. National chairman of the NPP, Freddie Blay, on 3 or 4 occasions, reached out to his colleague, national chairman of the NDC. And the national chairman of the NDC, on almost all occasions, gave excuses that, well, I'll call you back, I'm in a meeting, or sometimes you call and he wouldn't pick.
So were you surprised by that letter to the president?
Freddie kept calling. We were surprised because, look, if you could also get the time to write back to the president, then you should also make time to at least engage our national chairman, even if it's for 5 minutes on the phone, and say, look, let's sit over a drink over lunch, let's discuss these modalities, because it's about the peace and stability of our country. And it borders and involves the two major political parties, the giants of our parties. And then the national chairman of the NDC said, okay, he was going to get back to Chairman Blay. That meeting never happened, and it hasn't happened. We haven't lost hope, but we think the position of the NDC is problematic. We are not in a war situation. Even warring factions sometimes break the ice before major meetings. And what sometimes does happen is that in negotiations, you need to have an informal discussion so that you set the tone right. Then all of you go into more or less conclave or in a formal meeting. But the NDC is rejecting that. They still insist that, no, we should just write. You know, the danger is that when you write... So you haven't done that because we wanted to adopt the informal first and then send the letter.
For 3 weeks.
But for 3 weeks, we've been trying to get them. My national chairman has been trying to get Chairman of Oswampofo to have this discussion.
So it is true, like Johnson Esiedin Ketia said, you haven't written. So in his argument yesterday on Top Story with MFA Apawu, he says, we haven't received an invitation. How do we meet?
There are two things. It's either you only want to stick to one side of the argument.
No, not at all. So I'm asking that for us, true you haven't written.
We haven't written a formal letter. That is not in doubt.
Okay.
But what we're saying is that writing a formal letter, it just takes minutes. And we will deliver by close of today or first thing tomorrow morning. The NDC should have the formal letter from the NPP. But that in itself will not solve the problem. That's why we felt that, look, let's break the ice first so that when we are writing a letter, the content of what you are expecting is embedded in the letter. What is going to happen, and I can predict the NDC strategy, and you can mark it on the wall. We will write to them, and then they will then write back and say, okay, let us know the conditions within which we're going to meet. So then it becomes another letter back to back.
So are we expecting more delays?
I'm getting a bit frustrated with the position of the NDC, to be very honest with you. We've done over 52 constituencies already, engaging our base. They haven't engaged a single constituency.
Well, we'll have to find out from them. And I must mention that we were trying to reach the communications director of the NDC, but we've not succeeded in doing that. So they're not here to respond to that.
And again, well, that's what I'm saying. They haven't engaged any group. I'm sure it would have been obvious. We haven't had in our engagement.
We haven't heard, but they are not here.
But
so
there's a dangerous development.
They may be using other means to deal with the problem.
Twitter,
meeting
Facebook,
their constituents like you.
Twitter, Facebook,
they may have a different
Instagram.
strategy, Mr. Wuku.
Okay, that's fine. But Yamin, a leading member of their party, and I'm sure you've seen it. You've seen the reportage saying that the NDC is not going to disband any group.
But the NDC said they didn't associate with that.
They issued a statement to that effect?
We've heard them say yesterday. There was a statement yesterday. We also heard from the General Secretary on Top Story, like I mentioned.
Okay, that's a good development. But who is reprimanding him? I thought the media said it was going to be name and shame. You said you were not going to provide a platform for people who are not going to contribute positively towards
exactly. That's why we haven't engaged them. And so,
what about you've engaged? An outlet of yours has engaged.
And so when we have the leadership saying that
it's
we do not
about
agree
associating,
publicly.
It's about condemning it because it's reprehensible.
Definitely, and that's
bode well.
And that's why we're having this campaign. But let's talk about another issue Mr. Isidun Keita raised in that interview yesterday. He spoke about trust, and in his words, he thinks we shouldn't pretend there are issues of trust. The NPP has issues of trust against the NDC and vice versa. So he says, look, we need a mediator because of this. But the NPP doesn't seem to agree with that.
Well, we find it very interesting. The first meeting, you bring all these mediators you're talking about. And if it doesn't go well, who do you tend to? And I ask the question, where do broken hearts go? Because then the nation's heart is broken. So there's nobody as the last person to stand in and help. The Peace Council, they have indicated that in the past, their engagements with these political parties, it's been clear to them that all of them always claim or say they don't have any of these groups
including
in their fold.
yours.
I'm saying all the political parties they've engaged, and the NPP is one. I don't want to pretend. I come to this table with a very honest position.
Exactly.
Likewise, that of my party. Then you also do have the NDC still insisting they don't have any in their fold. When the NCC, 3 months ago, you can speak to Nkrumah, Josephine Nkrumah, she engaged the NDC side on, the activities of these groups and how, it affects our democracy. The NDC said, in fact, they heaped all the blame on the NPP. Josephine Nkrumah and her team then visited the NPP's headquarters. NPP also took time to heap everything on the NDC. And that's the kind of football that we wanted to avoid. When the two of us sit, these are parties with mutual respect. And we can look into each other's eyes and point out the errors and point out the groups we're talking about.
Sorry to cut in. And talking about looking into each other's eyes, exactly why I wanted a rep from the NDC here. So we could have an honest discussion about this. But the
discussion won't end alone on radio.
Exactly.
The two of us, you see, we don't have any problem at all bringing in mediators. But then that is another nice way of a window dressing approach.
Let me just come in with this. You used the NCC example.
Yes, and I've used the Peace Council
example. And the fact that it's a blame game.
These are two mediators they have recommended.
It's a blame game thing. And so you're saying that, well, we've had them visit us in times past, and we still haven't gone anywhere with it. But isn't that enough reason why you actually need a mediator? Because if the blame game is still there...
never needed a mediator to call President Mahama after the Supreme Court decision. It was an honest and a democratic thing to do. President Mahama didn't need a mediator to pick a phone to concede defeat to Nana Addo after December 7, 2016. Let's not pretend that these political parties are warring factions. In Parliament,
but you have trust issues.
Well, the trust issues, it doesn't come from these two parties. The trust issues has to do with the third party. So when we sit down and we list our problems, and then we can then say, okay, we want Bernice to be in because she has a role to play. We want Elvis to be in because he has a role to play. But if you box and bring everybody in there, you think that when you have microphones there, roundtable discussion, coffee and croissant being served, and these political parties will own up and say, okay, I own the hawks, I fund them, I own the invisible, I fund them, then that will be an exercise in futility. What we want is a very honest and dispassionate discussion. And we reckon that it's going to be heated, but the passionate, legitimate debate that must ensue, in our view, must lead to finding a lasting solution to this menace and to this problem. It weakens our democracy, it doesn't make us look good. But the NDC, they've been the biggest culprits in the past. They've presided over several by-elections.
But you see, Mr.
This
is the problem.
We've shown leadership
and courage. A lot of Ghanaians have issues with this posture as well, because we are moving forward. We've agreed we want to have a discussion. Can we?
When the two parties meet, there's no way you can gloss over issues of the past.
Okay.
It must be poured. Archbishop Desmond Tutu said something, that before the book is closed, the book must first be open for us to know the content.
And so you want to have that meeting between yourselves.
You see,
so you can do that
if we don't and we go for that full-scale mediation, I can tell you the NDC will be embarrassed.
Okay, so this issue
because the demands that they are bringing and the footage and the reportage and the pictures that we can show of events in the past and under whose reign that the terror did reign, they've presided over more by-elections than we have.
If they would be embarrassed and if it would not be in their interest, why don't you just give it to them anyway?
They're embarrassing the party, or it's about us finding a lasting solution?
Okay. It is about finding a lasting solution, but your defense to why you don't need a mediator is what I'm asking.
Well, we will write a letter. My last conversation with the national chairman just about 10 minutes ago, before I got into your studio, he's asked the general secretary to write a letter. They discuss the contents of it and then dispatch. We do hope that the receiving officer at the NDC's headquarters will be at post, so that it also doesn't turn out to be that we send a letter or you haven't sent a letter. But it is sad that common meeting breaking the ice, we have to call on UN, call on AU.
Should we trust the NPP and the NDC to do a good job with this banding? You're not even able to meet and agree when to meet, how to meet.
But the sad aspect is that you're asking me to engage in an exercise which is a bit difficult. I can only vouch for the NPP. I don't speak for the NDC. But I can vouch for the sincerity of the NPP. And we are committed to ensuring that we rid our politics of politically motivated or politically affiliated violence. But in that score, let me also be very frank and state the party's position to it. We are in a situation and we expect that everything should be geared towards finding a solution. That does not mean that media houses should also capitalize on that to also send and transmit fear and to add to the current situation we face. We want to be very frank on that. The fact that you see people with notepads and pen, you don't quantify them or classify them as vigilantes. You see people on the street, for instance, that, once this orange seller is holding a knife, maybe for the purposes of using it for the oranges that people are buying, doesn't know, then this person is a potential militia. So media houses also owe it as a responsibility to also be responsible to the Ghanaian people and state facts and not exaggerate facts. The moment you exaggerate fact, then the three essential things, be it in broadcasting or radio, is missing. Radio must get results through information and through education and through the entertainment.
Okay, we understand that, but
that is the position of the NPP that we want to stake. We are in a situation, we're trying to get out of it, but media houses should be cautioned not to press the fear button.
Just like you haven't spoken for the NDC, I cannot speak for any other media house, but I know that at JoyNews, we are a credible news outlet. We put out the facts, we don't exaggerate,
but
and we are professionals.
You won't always get it right. It's a human institution.
I appreciate.
Sometimes when we get it wrong, we should have the humility to say we got it wrong.
We appreciate, but I am stating the position of my company as well.
That's right.
That we are professionals and we do our job.
And we also do hope that just as you're a professional entity, you worldly acclaimed, and we respect that.
All right, Mr.
And we support that.
Sure.
But when you get it wrong, you should have the humility to say, I think this one we got it wrong.
I'm
not saying you have, but I'm just saying.
Okay. Yes. So, all right, I get it.